In the prior videos I have covered the Newcastle and Central coastlines between Cowan and Newcastle. In this video I cover the North Shoreline, which starts at the station south of Cowan. That station is Berowra. Berowra Station lies near the M1 motorway, and on the other side of the motorway is the Ku-ring-gai Chase National Park. In 2007, Berowra Station was almost lit up in flames as a bushfire from the national park threatened the station. However, firefighters were able to prevent the fire from getting to the station. Berowra is an Aboriginal word meaning place of many shells. Moving south to Mount Ku-ring-gai. The main northern line was originally a single track line. In 1901, a passing loop was built and a station was also constructed. It was known as Ku-ring-gai. The station name added the mount 3 years later in 1904. This area was part of the lands of the Ku-ring-gai people of the Eora Nation. The so-called powers that be at the time anglicised Ku-ring-gai to Ku-ring-gai. Next stop. The station opened in 1887 as Kola Station, renamed Mount Kola in 1906. Naturalist George Cayley wrote a letter to Sir Joseph Banks, described a koala as Kola. When land in the area was released by R. Halloran and Company in 1915, a railway station was built to service the township of Asquith, which was named after Herbert Henry Asquith. Hornsby Railway Station history is entrenched in the history of the Northern Line and the North Shoreline. The station opened as a terminus in 1886 as Hornsby. In 1890, the North Shoreline opened between St Leonard's and Hornsby. In 1894, Hornsby Station changed its name to Hornsby Junction, as a station to the south on the Northern Line opened in the area where the vast majority of Hornsby's growth was at the time. This station took over the Hornsby name. 6 years later, in 1900, it was decided that having two stations called Hornsby was too confusing, so Hornsby Junction Station reverted back to being called Hornsby, and the station to the south would be called Normanhurst. I will cover Normanhurst more in a future video on the Northern Line. Today we are taking the bend around to the North Shoreline. This two-platform station was opened in 1909, when the line was duplicated. Prior to 1909, there was a one-platform station which opened in 1895. Waitara takes its name from the Waitara River in New Zealand. Next stop, Pierce's Corner. Well, that is what Wahroonga was originally called for its first 8 months of existence. But before that, it was planned to be called Noonan's Platform, after Patrick Noonan, whose property came close to the railway workings. All the seats at Wahroonga Station are of the old wood and steel type, with embellishments on the armrests. When the railway came through Wahroonga in 1890, the area became known as a place for wealthy businessmen to build their out-of-town residences. Wahroonga is a local Ku-ring-gai word meaning our home. Next stop, Warrawee. You can see some of those old lavish businessmen's residences just outside Warrawee Station. Warrawee is believed to be a local Aboriginal word meaning rest a while. No rest for me, I'm off to Turramurra. Turramurra was opened in 1890 as Eastern Road and renamed Turramurra later that year. Berowra Station opens out into the suburb's main shopping precinct, with a small op shop operating just outside the Berowra Station. Turramurra is a local Aboriginal word believed to mean high hill. Back on the train, we arrive at Pymble. On the site of the railway station once stood the home of an early settler named Robert Pymble. Robert Pymble died in 1861, well before the railway came through the North Shore area. Once the railway came through in 1890, Robert Pymble's house was used as the ticket office of the single-track railway station. The house was demolished when in 1909 the line started its duplication process, and Pymble became an island platform. Gordon is the next stop. On the concourse of Gordon Station, there is a memorial to those who lost their lives in the local area in World War I. The timber waiting room is a replica of original waiting room that sat on Gordon Railway Station. However, this was built in 1993. The station building on platforms 2 and 3 once housed a signal box. Local identity James George Edwards assisted in establishing the so-called gentleman's estate he named Killara in 1899. When the railway came through. It was known as a gentleman's estate due to there being no commercial businesses in the area. Francis List named his cottage on his farmland Linfield, and when the railway came through that farmland in 1890, the name of the property was applied to the railway station. On the 1st of January 1890, Roseville Station was apparently opened as Rossville, but then changed its name to Roseville soon after. The area of Roseville was settled by Richard Archibald and his son-in-law, who built a cottage he named Rose Villa. This building was demolished when the railway came through, and hence the name Roseville. Now we get to Chatswood. Chatswood Station is currently the terminus of the North West Metro, which I'll look at in another video. Inside Chatswood Station, the walls of the concourse display the local history of the Chatswood area. You could spend quite a bit of time learning about the local history. Chatswood Station lies amongst the shopping area known as Chatswood Interchange. In the bus interchange sits the old signal box building from the original Chatswood Station. Peering inside the old signal box, you can see the old interlocking levers. Onto William Gore's estate, which he named Artarmon after his family estate in Ireland. William Gore was in charge of the military police under Governor William Bligh. Artarmon also has an old ticket window. At St Leonard's, the platforms are labelled platforms 2 and 3. At the time of the station upgrade, there were some plans to quadruplify the line, but this never came into fruition. Hence there is no platform 1 or platform 4. St Leonard's Station opens out into the St Leonard's Forum. Onto Wollstonecraft, which is on a really sharp bend. It was originally named Edwards Road Station when opened in 1893. It was renamed Wollstonecraft in 1900 after Edward Wollstonecraft, who had a land grant in this area. On to Waverton, which was originally called Bay Road in 1895 and changed its name when the suburb of Waverton was made official in 1929. There is an old sign on platform 2 advertising Ball's Head. There is a walking tour you can download from the North Sydney City website, which covers a walk from Waverton Station to Balls Head. Between Waverton and North Sydney Station, you pass where the line used to veer off down to Milson's Point via Lavender Bay. The Sydney Harbour Bridge opened on the 19th of March 1932. A day later, the North Sydney Railway Station was opened. Originally, the railway only occupied 2 platforms at North Sydney Station, with the other 2 being used by trams. However, this was not planned to be the case. Tunnel portals do exist for John Bradfield's plan for another railway to be built to the northern beaches. These days the spare platforms are used for terminating trains and sending them on their way back towards the city. Going out of the tunnels at North Sydney and heading to Milson's Point, you can see what looks like a road beside the tracks. This used to be where the trams would travel. In this section here, the trams would use a bridge to get over the car traffic to the other side of what is now the KL Expressway. The KL Expressway side of the Harbour Bridge used to be tram tracks. We now arrive at Milson's Point, which was originally to be called Kirribilli, sometime before the station was opened. The station was opened on the same day as the Sydney Harbour Bridge. However, Milson's Point Station was opened with 4 platforms. The other 2 platforms were on the other side of the Bradfield Highway and catered for the trams that would use the KL Expressway side of the Harbour Bridge. So now we go back to Waverton, where we follow the tracks down to the old terminus. The North Shore Line was opened between Hornsby and St Leonard's in 1890 and then opened down to the Milson's Point shoreline in 1893, using this stretch of track. The original Milson's Point railway station was roughly where the pylon for the Sydney Harbour Bridge is today. The Milson's Point station at Lavender Bay was opened in 1915 for a 7-week period before closing and reverting back to the Milson's Point station wharf side. However, when the Sydney Harbour Bridge was in planning, the railway had to be truncated to the redeveloped Lavender Bay station site, which once sat behind today's Luna Park. The line finally closed for service on the same day that the North Sydney and new Milson's Point railway stations were opened in 1932. However, the tracks were used as train stabling for decades after. Well, that's it for this episode. I'm catching the ferry to Circular Quay to catch the train home. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to the video and hit the bell button so you won't miss a video. Bye-bye.